students, this is Dr. Tarpey, and this video is a companion to your assignment in Module 4, which is to create a WBS in Project Libra. So let's get started. We are going to use the Emergency Department ED at the Burton Group of Hospitals case study that you can find in D2L. Let me open up D2L here. Okay, Module 4 is where we want to go to. Project Planning and Scope. Let's open up your assignment first, Project WBS. Let's open, well, we'll wait to open a couple attachments to this assignment. Before we go there, in module number 1, I'm sorry, I apologize, actually in the case study folder, here is the case study, the Burton Group Hospitals ED case study that you will use for several assignments in this course this semester. I've got that case study open right here. We are going to use, you should by now have read this case study. We are specifically going to be focusing on section 1.2, which is creating a work breakdown structure. Now let me go back. Let's go back to module 4 and let's get our assignment attachments open so I can go through those. Module 4, Project WBS. There are 2 attachments. One attachment, which is the Word document, contains the instructions for this assignment, and then there's a Project Libra file that you are going to use as your template for this assignment. So let's go ahead and get these files downloaded. Let's start with the instructions right here. Okay, you can read through these instructions, but essentially what we're going to do is we're going to create a work breakdown structure of the project associated with this case study, and we're going to use Project Libra to do so. That is going to be our template. If you open up the Project Libra file. Now for this course, we use Project Libra. Microsoft Project is an expensive tool. I have not had a lot of success getting MTSU to get Microsoft Project loaded into the computer labs, which is a requirement for using software at MTSU in our classes. So we're going to use Project Libra. Project Libra is a great tool. It's been being used by quite a few businesses these days. It's an open source product, which essentially means that there is no cost to use the product. Now you should by now have this particular tool downloaded because you had an assignment in Module 1 to create a project plan in this tool, so I won't go into any more detail. The file that I've loaded into this particular assignment is a template for a case study. Now we're not going to worry about the Gantt chart piece of this tool right now. We're only worried about these 2 columns right here, which is the name column where you put your tasks and the WBS column where you're going to number your tasks. Let me switch back now to our instructions. So what you're going to do is you're going to create a work breakdown structure for this project. Now this project is a DMAIC process improvement project. That means there are specific phases that this project needs to adhere to. So in your case, for this project, we have the design phase, the measure phase, the analyze phase, the improve phase, and the control phase. You're going to have those 5 phases in your work breakdown structure. The document tells you what the phases are, the document being the instructions for the assignment. And the case study, if you look at the case study, also has information about DMAIC projects starting in section 1.3, which is on page 8. Read through this material and understand what the define phase tasks would be, what the measure phase tasks would be, etc. We'll come back and talk about that in a minute. So let's go back to our assignment. Here's what you're going to do. Your work breakdown structure must have a project summary task, and it must have these defined phases. So what you're going to do first is you're going to create your project summary task. I'm going to leave these tasks in here. These are an example template for you. But essentially, you're going to enter your project summary task. And you're going to call it something specific. Maybe you're going to call it the E.D. Burton Process Improvement Project. Let's go ahead and expand these columns. All right, now this task needs to start as outdented as possible. The indent, outdent are in the top ribbon under the task option. I'll refer to that in just a moment. So what you want to do is you want to have a project summary task. I tell you what, I'm actually going to delete these for now to make this a little cleaner for example's sake. So let me delete these. There we go. You're going to enter your first task. The WBS is a hierarchical number structure. It's like an outline. If you were doing a research paper that had an outline, a numerical outline. I've given you an example here in the instructions. For instance, your first task would be numbered 1.0. A task at the same level would be 2.0. A task underneath a particular task, indented underneath, which means it's part of this put in lawn task, acquire lawn materials, install sprinkler systems. That is a second level of the task. So in this case, it's a 2.1 and a 2.2. If you have a third level, you get to a third number after a decimal point. So in this case, it would be 2.2.1 and so on and so on. So if we go back to our work breakdown structure, this task is going to be at the highest level. It's going to be a 1.0. That's your project summary task. That task should have all work indented underneath it. And when we get into project scheduling in a later module, you're going to understand what that means. The next task you should have is going to be your design phase. Now remember, I had indicated that all of your work should be indented underneath your project summary task. So what we do is we highlight this task, we go to the task option up at the top, in the ribbon that opens up or is already open, we go to the task group of activities and we select the indent option. Now you'll notice when I indent this task, the task above it becomes bold, indicating in Project Libra that that is a summary level task now. And the design phase is a task that is categorized underneath the bold task above it. This is a second level task, therefore our number should be 1.1. Now, inside the define phase, you should come up with tasks that would occur in the design phase of a DMAIC project. And I'll tell you how to get those tasks later on in this video. For now, we're just going to say task number 1. We're going to say task number 2. See if I can't type a little better here. Okay. Good enough. All right. These tasks, looks like I have an empty space there. These tasks, task 3 and 4, actually belong underneath the define phase. So I'm going to highlight these tasks and I'm going to indent those tasks. The define phase is a summary task indicating a group of work called the define phase. In this case, since we have a task underneath the define phase, we are now looking at level 1.1.1 and 1.1.2. Whoops. There we go. So we're going to fill out design phase tasks, and then we're going to fill out measure phase tasks. In this case, the measure phase is a new phase and should be lined up with the design phase. Project Libra will default every task you enter to be indented at the same level as the task above it. So in this case, the measure phase, as you can see, is indented when it should not be. The measure phase should line up with the define phase. So I'm going to take the measure phase and I'm going to outdent. I'm going to put a couple tasks in here as well. We'll call this one task number 3. We'll call this one task number 4. Now these tasks are tasks that should be represented within the measure phase, so I'm going to indent those. And you'll see now that I have a design phase and a measure phase. Let's just follow this through. We're going to have an analyze phase with a task number 5, task number 6. We're going to have an improve phase with a task number 7 and a task number 8. Then we're going to have a control phase with a task number 9 and a task number 10. And if you go back to your instructions, we should have a design phase, a measure phase, an analyze phase, an improve phase, and a control phase. Okay, lovely, we've got that. Let's go back to our Project Libra document. Now, as you can see, these tasks are not indented correctly. The analyze phase should be a phase lined up with the other phases. So I'm going to take task number 8 and I'm going to outdent it. Unfortunately, that moved it down. So let's say we want to cut and we want to put that one right here. Now, the funny thing is, Project Libra has some unpredictable responses when you move tasks around. So the better option for moving, and I should have started this way, is let's first organize all our lowest level tasks. So let's take task 9 and 10. Let's indent those to make sure they're part of the analyze phase. Let's take tasks 12 and 13, which are the ID numbers from Project Libra, but task number 7, task number 8. Let's indent those. Let's take lines 15 and 16, which represent task number 9 and number 10, and let's indent those. All right, now we have our phases correct. Let's go ahead and close these phases. Project Libra, much like the rest of Microsoft methodology, has a collapse and an expand box next to it. Just click on these little minuses and you'll close up your tasks underneath each phase. Let's take these 3 tasks and let's outdent them to where they belong. If you close all your phases, this is what your work breakdown structure should look like. A summary task at the top and 5 phase tasks. If you open each of these, you should have tasks underneath each one of these phases, as so. All right, now what we have to do is we have to be sure our numbering is correct. So the measure phase is going to be 1.2. Task number 3 falls underneath the measure phase, so that's a 1.2.1, 1.2.2. This is a new second level, so this is a 1.3. Task number 5 is going to be a 1.3.1, 1.3.2. The improve phase is another second level task, so we're going to increase the second level of our number scheme to 1.4. Task number 7 is going to be the first task in the improve phase, so 1.4.1, 1.4.2, and the control phase is 1.5, 1.5.1, 1.5.2. You get the general idea. So this is the general structure that your file should look like when you submit it, except you should have the correct tasks here. You cannot submit a file that says task number 1, task number 2. You need to go into the case study. Let's see here. Here we go. And you need to find tasks in this case study that represent tasks that occur in each of these phases. Now I've got some hints for you. In table number 4, I've given you the structure and some ideas. Don't worry about the milestones right now. We're going to put milestones into our project plan when we start the project scheduling phase of our project. In this case, you can look at the structure. You don't need to worry about duration or start dates or any of that information at the moment. The better table to refer to is task number 5. I have given you several tasks that occur in each phase. These tasks must be in your work breakdown structure. Here's tasks for the define phase, the measure phase, the analyze phase, the improve phase, and the control phase. The challenge is table 5 does not have enough tasks for you. So if you go back to our assignment in section 1.2, your work breakdown structure needs to adhere to these following requirements. You must have a high-level project summary task. That is task number 1. It must be a summary task such that if I were to close this box, it would be the only task I see. That means that all work or all subsequent tasks are indented underneath this task. Let's go back to our requirements. You must have no more than a total of 60 tasks, including summary tasks and milestone tasks. Do not worry about milestone tasks right now. You should have a define phase task, and inside the define phase, you must have a minimum of 17 tasks. You must include a summary level task and detailed tasks to cover the process walkthroughs, the Gemba walks. What that means essentially is you need to have 17 tasks in this phase. And in this phase, let me add a task here. You need to have a task called process Gemba walks. And you should have tasks underneath that process Gemba walks for each of the process Gemba walks. For instance, there is a registration process Gemba walk. These process walks need to be indented under your summary task like so. So you're going to have several of these under the process Gemba walks. This process Gemba walk is going to be a 1.1.3. All we've done is added a 4th level of task. So in this case, this will be 1.1.3.1. And if we have another one, let's do a new task. Let's just say this is process walk number 2, but you should not have it. You should have your process walk named correctly. You can't use generic names. This task will be 1.1.3.2. All right, so that's what this requirement indicates right here. The rest of your 4 phases must have a minimum of 8 tasks for measure, 8 tasks for analyze, 5 tasks for improve, 5 tasks for control. So you do not have that many tasks in table number 5. So you will need to go to, where's table number 5? Here we go. If you do not have enough tasks, you need to find another task either in the case study documentation that also lists tasks that need to happen in each phase. For instance, if I look in, this is the improve phase. Here's a task that needs to happen in the improve phase. Here's a task that needs to happen in the improve phase. You get the idea. If you cannot find enough tasks within the text of the case study, then you'll need to do some external research on the internet. Look up a DMAIC project, what type of tasks occur in each phase of a DMAIC process improvement project. Let's go back to our requirements. Whoops, our requirements are in the case study. My apologies. Let's go back to section 1.2. Okay, you must meet these requirements. A high-level project summary tasks, no more than 60 tasks. The define phase must have 17 tasks with the process Gemba walks identified correctly. 8 tasks in the measure phase, 8 tasks in the analyze phase, 5 tasks in the improve phase, and 5 tasks in the control phase. You are then going to create this document, which will have the right amount of tasks in it. Save this document. Again, do not worry about the Gantt chart. These are the only 2 columns that are important right now. Save this document and you will upload your Project Libra document, which has an extension of POD, into the Dropbox to fulfill this assignment. Okay, let's see here. I think I've covered everything you need to know. Read the case study. Here's another example of what that summary task and process walk should look like. We should have covered everything we need for you to do this assignment. Okay, so as always, if you have questions regarding this particular assignment or anything else in this course, please feel free to contact me either via D2L email or through MTSU email, or you can contact me on cell phone either in office hours or schedule time with me to talk about your projects. I look forward to talking to you. Good luck on this assignment and carry forward.